Hey everyone, welcome to NewbieTech, and today we're going to be looking at a remote administration tool, also known as a RAT. The name of this tool is called ToRat. I'm sure many of you have used a RAT before. The main difference between ToRat and other remote administration tool is that ToRat uses Tor as its transport mechanism, meaning that all the connection made between the client and the server is made through Tor nodes. So not only that, but all the traffic that is going to be TLS encrypted before they go through Tor. So this is important because Tor doesn't provide encryption. Anyone sitting on the Tor exit node would be able to sniff that traffic. So at this moment there are clients for Windows, Linux and macOS, but in the future there will be client for Android and iOS as well. I'll make a video on that once it's available for Android, so don't forget to subscribe this channel. Some other promised feature is privilege escalation for Linux and macOS, and also persistence feature for macOS and Windows. So with that introduction, let's just go ahead and run this tool. So I'm using Security OS, but if you are using Kali Linux or any other distribution, it should be fine. Since ToRat is available as a Docker image, so as long as you have Docker installed, it should work. So go ahead and download Docker with sudo apt install docker.io. So if you want to install the community version, I have made a separate video on how to install community version. So if you want to check that video, it's linked in the description below. But in this case, we are installing the Docker engine present in the Security repository. So at this point, our Docker is installed. If you run Docker command, you should see the Docker help information. So that means Docker is installed. So let's just get back to ToRat. So there is this help section of ToRat. The link will be in the description if you want to check it yourself. So first, let's just clone this repository. I'll be making a working directory for ToRat. So to clone the repository, just use git clone and the repository URL. So once the repository is cloned, you can change the directory to ToRat. Next, we need to build the ToRat Docker image. The Docker file is already in the repository, so we don't need to make any changes to it. So we can just start to build the Docker image. The command is going to be sudo docker build dot space -t TORAT. Basically, this command is building an image from the Docker file, which is located in this directory, and it is naming the image as ToRat. So it can take a few minutes to complete. So after like 10 minutes, the process is complete. Let me explain to you guys what actually happened during this build process. So once we started the build, Docker pulled this image called ToRstatic, and everything is built upon this image. Since ToRat is written in Golang, I downloaded some of the Go libraries. In one of this process, it generated a TLS certificate, so we can have end-to-end encryption, and you can see the hidden service domain as well. In the next process, it generated the client for Linux, and also it used this UPX tool to package and reduce the client binary size. Here you can see the size shrink to around 50%. Similarly, the build process also generated a Windows client binary and packaged it as well. Finally, all the files were copied to dixt_ext directory so that we can access it later. You can verify the existence of this image with docker image-ls. Sorry, we need to use sudo for this. If you don't want to use sudo, you can add your user to the Docker group and you don't have to use sudo at all. Okay, now we have the ToRat image, so let's just run this image. So you can run this image with sudo space docker run --name. So let's just call it newbierat -v. So this is the directory you want to mount the dist.ext directory. So I'll use a directory in my desktop called client. So you can use any other directory. The name of the image is going to be ToRat. Since all the executable are in this dist.ext directory, inside the Docker image, we are mounting that directory to our desktop directory so we can access the content from our host. Now we can run this image and you should see the splash and some information. So let's go to our client directory and see if the client binary is there or not. So yes, the binaries are there. If you do help, you should see all the options that the ToRat server supports. Now you need to run the client executable in any of your machines. In my case, I have a virtual machine running a few operating systems. So let's just try this with Ubuntu. The reason why I'm using this with Ubuntu is because I tested this with Windows and it didn't work as expected, and there were frequent disconnection. It didn't work for me, so you can give it a try with Windows. Let me know in the comment if it worked for you guys. So my Ubuntu machine is resuming and it's ready. So let's just create a directory called rat and let me copy this executable. So on my left is my ToRat server and on my right is my ToRat client. So let's just execute this rat on the client machine and first make it executable and we can run this. Once the client runs, you should get a connection to your ToRat server. You should remember that it is making a TLS connection to our server through Tor, so it can take a while. So once you get connect, you should get a connect notify in your server as well. If you do list, you should see the connected clients. If you do select, you can select between those clients. Once you select the client, you will be dropped to your client cell. Here you can use all your post exploitation option. You can use screen to download the screenshot of the client. I know there aren't many options compared to Meterpreter cell, but I know there aren't many options as compared to a Meterpreter cell, but you get a client cell, so I don't think there is much you need. So I can make a file, I can delete a file and anything that I desire with this cell. Even if your client restarts or your server restarts, you should get the connection back up again if you launch this binary. So the connection is persistence, and to make sure the binary is executed, you can use a systemd service, or you can set up a cron job, or you can simply use rc local. It's up to you. So there are other many features that are coming up like Android support and privilege escalation, etc. So if you guys are interested, you can check this project. If you have any queries, please do mention it in the comments below. If you like this video, please do like the video and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video.